This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Karen Pittman about The Morning Show. How are you, Karen?
Hi, Abe. Thanks for having me. I'm really good today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Always happy to talk about The Morning Show, which has only grown, I think, in popularity since it first started.
I know. It's crazy. So crazy, right?
How much did you know about Mia's arc and where they were planning to go with the character?
Oh, I knew a lot about it. I mean, we have a showrunner, Charlotte Stout, who really likes our input. She's very excited about telling stories, especially on this show. She has a bright imagination and extraordinary ingenuity. And so I knew a lot about it. We had a lot of conversations. I think seasons 1 and 2, we got to know so much about Mia in the workplace, what she was about, and the importance of accurate, authentic television news reporting to her. We delved into that story, and so she and I both thought it was important to open up Mia's emotional life. She's a little bit of a mysterious character, enigmatic, and she was able to find extraordinary ways of sort of brightening up the character. She, spoke Russian. She had a photojournalist boyfriend that was in Ukraine, and it's just so much to sort of chew on for season 3. And so yeah, there are a few surprises in there for me, but for the most part, I understood exactly what we were planning to do with the character.
What do you relate to most about Mia as a person?
It's very little that I relate to Lena to Mia. Mia is almost entirely created from my imagination. We are not at all alike, and um, it's such a joy to play a character that fires as an actor that fires your imagination in this way, where the writers are excited to create for this character. She's probably one of the most favorite characters that I've ever done, also because I think I live in her, and a lot of what lived with her and in her in many many ways. And um so I would say that she and I are nothing alike, but I love that. I love being able to create from a blank canvas, and use all the different colors that I have in my toolbox to create a full person for our audience.
I like that you give that answer because I ask this question a lot, and usually, unless someone plays, a serial killer or somebody really
Uh,
vile, it's like,
I
oh no, we're share some, it's. But to hear it's so different, but that's a really great thing because of the creativity. That's just really interesting to learn about that.
I mean, it's important to me to be able, like, almost all the characters I have wigs. We have very specific makeup choices for it, very specific costume choices. It doesn't matter if I'm working on the morning show or Yellowstone or and just like that or the American. It doesn't matter. These characters typically have a very specific way of looking, and this, of course, goes back to that experience that I had as a child, where you're in your room with your dolls, or you're in the garage and you're putting on a show. It's just the most interesting way for me to work as an actor, to really pull it out of my creative space, as opposed to tapping into something feels that feels like it's from my life history.
There's also definitely an intensity and unpredictability of just the newsroom nature of this show. How much does that, sort of get felt on set, or is that all sort of created in the editing afterwards?
A lot of that is created on set, and some of that is just natural to the way that our directors and our producers and writers write the show, and how they film it visually, how they create it. Our visual aesthetic on the show is Mimi Leader, whose signature trademark camera move is the walk and talk, and so much of the urgency and action of what we do as characters, and the constant movement is just inherent to the kind of filmmaker that she is, and it really works perfectly. So I would say a lot of that is created on set, but obviously, as someone who works in the show, has worked on the show for the past 3 seasons, and now on my fourth season, I do a lot of research on what morning television news shows are all about. When I go, do my interviews on morning television news, I'm always looking to see what's new and what they. I go to their control room, I go to their fishbowl and their writers spot to see what they're up to, because it's important to make it authentic and accurate. I mean, it's soapy in parts, but for the most part, I think we're really trying to talk about, where we are and sharing information and news in our culture right now. And I think the story can have some relevance and be important in certain areas.
There's also such a huge and terrific ensemble, but I think that I have to imagine there are plenty of people who you know personally, but you never get to share scenes with. Is there anybody who comes to mind right away that you'd really love for Mia to get to interact with in some way?
Well, I again 3 seasons. I feel like I've worked with everyone, but um, I haven't had my chance to work with Holland Taylor. And I love her so much just as a human being, but also as an actress. I saw her in her one person stage play and many years ago, and just been enamored with her from all of her work on television. But this upcoming season, we see Mia with a lot of people. So I get my chance to kind of fulfill all of those opportunities in season 4 for sure.
How does it feel to be nominated alongside or against, however you look at it, three of your co-stars in the same category?
Feels extraordinary. I mean, I deeply humbled. I feel like an Emmy nomination is an acknowledgement of remarkable work, excellent work, and I could get emotional talking about it because I've been in this industry for a long time. And you do your work and nose to the grindstone, and you hope for people to say, "Hey, good job," but you don't expect it after. I've been in the industry for 15 years. You don't expect it. So not just Holland and Nicole and Greta, but also Leslie Manville, and I'm a big fan of Elizabeth Debicki and her work on The Crown, but her work in general. Um, so it feels like a mountaintop moment when they say it's an honor to be nominated. I feel that very deeply.
What's the kind of character you feel like you could play for, 10 or 12 seasons, or that there's likely a natural end sometime before that?
Abe, this is hard work. I mean, this show is kind of dark. It's filmed like a film. It's not filmed like a TV series. In our book, our directors are, their body of work is extraordinary. Um, the kind of twists and turns that you have to do as an actor, and the emotional work that you have to do with the character. You want to bring your A game because the actors you're working with just, take you to the next level. Um, and you know, we're all sort of want to have some real estate that we put our stake in as far as our character is concerned. It's like being on a championship. I could only, because we're watching the Olympics right now, I can only liken it to being on a championship team, where everyone is at Olympic level. Um, so yeah, it's the best experience I've had as an actor so far on television.
You're also a big part of And Just Like That, which has this huge established fan base from Sex and the City. What is it like to join I don't know if you call it a franchise necessarily, but that kind of world after it's already so popular?
Right, that was very challenging. As you know, I'm not going back to season 3. They're working on that right now, and I've been in conversations with my fellow co-stars, and it's going to be an exciting season. But that was very different. Walking in and seeing people waiting for you outside, while you're rehearsing, and taking video and camera of your work and paparazzi. That was a really interesting experience to be a part of. And I, the morning show was filming there last week in New York, and So when there was all of that attention for the work that I was doing for the morning show, it didn't bother me at all. At first on and just like that, I was like, ah, but now I'm like, yeah, yeah. Hi, come join the party.
When I was looking back through your work, I always like, noticing shows that I haven't thought about in a while. And there was one, Living with Yourself, which I remember, which
Yeah.
was such an interesting experience. And also a show that I don't think was ever officially canceled. I'm sure there's no hope whatsoever that it would continue, but I always just think about that. That's one that still just, inhabits a space. What do you think of when you think of that show?
I think of Paul Rudd doing all kinds of. I mean, the stuff that's on the cutting room floor, the stuff that was edited out, some of the funniest shit I have. It's just watching him work, and every take was different. And he's such. I mean, when they say comedic genius, but he really is genius. Where he pulls this stuff from, you have no idea. So that's what I think about when I think back to his work on the show and being on that show. It's such an um, small amount of time that we did that film. I think about 6 episodes, or was that 8?
One of the two.
It was short. It was a
Yeah.
short season.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, I don't think that that's coming back, but I'm glad that that lives out there in the culture over on the whatever network. I think that's Netflix. I did that for.
Okay. We were also a part of Luke Cage, which is obviously, part of something so much bigger, but very sort of stylized and individualized. What do you remember when you think of that show?
Well, Luke Cage came out before Black Panther, so in many ways we were doing something that no one had done before as far as a black superhero. And I remember the camaraderie on set. I remember Alfre Woodard and her great advice about how to elevate my work and elevate my career. I just remember the warm embrace that Luke Cage was, the excitement that we had when it premiered and it quote unquote broke Netflix. I just remember the feeling of many um, different African American women on set of different hues. And that was the first time I had ever experienced anything like that. I've come close to that working on Forever, the show that I just finished filming, the Judy Blume, the series is based on Judy Blume novel. I walked past the monitors are set up and all of the producers are there in the corner and they're all watching the monitors. And every chair was a woman or a woman of color. There was like 9 chairs in front of these monitors. And I was like, this is unique. Like I've never this experience before. And it too felt like a very warm embrace. So I really enjoy working with Netflix. I think they're an extraordinary network.
Well, before I let you go, I always like to ask, because it's awards buzz, if there is a show or performance that you've seen recently that you feel is particularly awards worthy.
Well, I am the biggest fan of The Bear. Have been since the start, but have been a fan of Evan Moss-Bacharach since before The Bear started. So, of all the performances, I just think he is consistently um, bringing himself, his work, his art to the story. And as an actor who has had a long journey up and down many mountains in this industry, I can tell you the hardest work is to consistently bring yourself to it, consistently bring your craft to it. And, you know, Eben knows that I'm a big fan of his, and we've talked about our mutual admiration. And I would say his performance is award worthy.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to get to speak with you.
Thank you, Abe. I appreciate it. Have a great Friday.